Now that we've done a little bit of color EQ and a little bit of compression and clipping, the next thing I want to do is go in with an EQ and do some more surgical cuts. So we're going to open up a Pro Q3 and we're going to put that after the glue compressor. And I really like using this plugin because you can make as many bands as you want, or I haven't reached a limit yet, and you can get very surgical with this EQ. And that's what we want to do at this point. We don't want to go overboard, but we just want to do a little bit. What I'm going to do is press play and I'm going to make a few points and solo those bands and just sweep through for any frequencies I don't like. Ooh, that one's terrible. So we're not going to make huge cuts here because we don't want it to feel like there's like a hole in the mix. But my thought process is if we find frequencies that we listen to and we're like, I hate that, we'll just remove a little bit of it. And by the end, it should be a very subtle improvement. Ooh. So everyone's ears are different, but I noticed that when we get into this like 3.5K to 5K region, there's a lot of like almost whistling resonances that my ears just do not like. And every time I sweep by them, it literally hurts. And that's what I'm kind of looking for, is I'm looking for those frequencies that when they're resonating, it like hurts my ears or makes me feel uncomfortable, because I don't want the listener to feel uncomfortable when they're listening to our song at loud volumes. So if we can just remove some of these frequencies in small amounts, then it should help us. But we don't want to go overboard. So I'm going to select all of these bands and I'm going to turn them down and turn them up and just try to get to that point where I'm not over EQing, but I'm EQing just enough. You can hear when I turn the EQ off, it almost sounds like there's like whistling happening. And what that is those are resonant frequencies that we don't want, that are like back in the mix, and now we can hear them. Before you add these cuts, you're like, I don't know, I feel like we're reaching for stuff. But when you sweep through and you find those frequencies that you don't like, you hear the song without them and then you add them back in, you're like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. So the last thing I like to do with this EQ is whenever I find that area where I'm like, okay, it's perfect, I always just go into this global scale setting, this gain scale, and I take it down by like half, because chances are I'm over EQing. Even when I'm trying not to over EQ, even when I'm thinking I'm not over EQing, I probably am. So I always go into the gain scale and just take it down to 50, and it's basically slicing my adjustments in half. If I feel like I need to bring them back up, I'll go do that. But this is just something I've learned to do because I tend to over EQ. So just a subtle difference.